G'day, it's Adrian here from Using Technology Better with a couple of updates in the Google Workspace. Some are around Drive, some around Sheets, and there's stuff coming out inside Gemini. In July, Google released the side panel inside Gemini inside our Google Workspace accounts. Now it lives inside Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, and also Drive. So here I am in Google Drive. I'm going to open up the side panel, and this opens up this window here. Now the great thing about Google Drive and Gemini is that I can get it to compare some files. So if you imagine you've got a bunch of work that you need to do to compare two files to see the differences between them and make some decisions, I can do this really quickly. I've got these occupational health, safety and welfare documents in PDFs. They're quite big. I need to compare the two of them. Now I could open them up and read them, or I can get Gemini to give me some sort of analysis there. This will now give me a breakdown of the differences between the documents. I can open up my little drop in here and it tells me the differences inside here, which is pretty handy. Because this is coming straight from these documents, the hallucinations in here are really low. I can also ask it what I need to update to improve what I'm doing. So I can say, what are the updates? It will then go through and tell me what I actually need to do to update for those requirements. Now you'll notice also that it uses the information from there plus what I type in to be able to give me the answer. I would also check these to make sure these are quite accurate, but you can be pretty well guaranteed that this is based on here. So you can see that you've got more broader scopes I need to do. There's more things I need to look in terms of my risk management, worker engagement, and incident notification, and compliance and enforcement. I've broken the back of a really big task really quickly by using the side panel in Gemini inside my Google Drive. Okay, so let's jump into gemini.google.com and see what we can do in there. Now, sometimes in our workflows, we might need to do some research and draw some sort of conclusions. Now, sometimes that takes a bit of time. So if I could use Gemini to actually go to a website, find some information for me, collate it, and then allow me to analyze it, that would be superb. So let's pretend we're looking at the house price indices, and we want to make sure, we want to compare that to what's happening in the lending institutions and also the interest rates and also the house prices. So let's have a get actually Gemini to do that heavy lifting for us. We want it to go to a whole lot of websites, find the information and give it back to us. It then kind of spits out a bit of an answer that we should read through, which does actually make quite a bit of sense. And when you read it, it's actually pretty good. And then you get to the end and you've got these things about, it's a conclusion and a disclaimer saying this is some information that you might need to check. Now in gemini.google.com, if we come down to the Google icon, we can then double check the responses to see where the hallucinations might be coming from. And what this does for us, it will tell us where it's got the information from and if we need to actually follow anything up. So anything in green here is coming from a website. So if I can drop this down, I can now go to this website and read it to see what's actually going on. Or anything in brown means that we might need to check this because it's actually kind of predicting what that response should be, but it's not based on actual data. So we need to make sure that we use these tools so that when we utilize the power inside gemini.google.com, that we're actually getting really accurate results here. Now, what I would do is I'd go through and check these. I would need to work on these spaces in here, the brown ones I need to work on. But if I come down right down to the bottom, I can now export this straight into a Google Doc and work from there. Now that workflow saves you a bundle of time. Alrighty, so let's have a look at how the side panel inside Google Workspace and Gemini all work together. So Gemini was put into the side panel inside Google Workspace in July. If we open this up, we can now see that we have now got the ability in here to be able to use Gemini with the document that we've got open. We can rephrase it, refine it, we can also summarize it, or we can come through and highlight a spot in here and then ask it to elaborate or condense it in this space. Now, this is great because it enables us to have a big document to be able to summarize it really quickly. It saves you a bundle of time of having to read through a whole lot of information. But sometimes we have two files that we want to compare. I've got this product brief here, and someone else has another one here, maybe from a different department or a different product line. And I want to be able to compare the two of them. So I'm going to come to here and just say compare and do an at mention and then drop in the one that I want to have and then just go enter, and that will now compare those two documents for me. Now this is saving you a bundle of time because what it is doing is actually reading it for you, comparing them to find where the differences are between those two documents, and gives you a high-level summary. You can then actually ask it more about this. So it's got two different briefs, and I can say, look, what are the key differences in the target audiences? Let's have a look. It'll go through and find that information for me. So I can do this with a bundle of files to be able to find out the differences and nuances between those files. This is saving you a bundle of time in terms of what you have to do for your workflows. It's a great way of using the side panel inside Gemini, which now lives inside your Google Workspace. Inside Google Sheets, in the past, if we had a large amount of data, we could use a named range to refer to it. But you might have seen, if you came across to your filter views in here, the ability to have a group view. Now that seems a bit strange, but when you combine that with a table, it does some really cool stuff. So what we need to do is first highlight our data. Then we're going to come into it, and we're actually going to format this as a table. So if we come to Format, convert it to a table, give this a name, let's just call it Test. Now what this does is this enables us to do a couple of really quick things here, which saves us a bunch of time. We can come into our little view in here and create a group view. Let's go by location and see how this now splits us up kind of like a really quick pivot table. And we could come in here if we wanted to and add another filter and sort this by, say, Z to A. So now we've got this by location and then by annual income. Really cool, really nice. And you might be thinking, well, that's all great, but what else can I do with these tables? Well, a table enables you to do a quick formula calculation, because each of these columns are now referred to really easily by using a simple formula. So let's pretend we want to add up our annual income. So I'm going to come across to say here and go equals sum. And what we'd normally do is we would then list off everything we need to do in that space to be able to find those things. So we'd have to do a cell reference. But now what we can do is we can refer to this table. Now remember, we called it test. And as soon as we start typing it in, see how it brings up the test label in here, and it tells us where it's coming from. So let's click on here. And then we might want to go, you know what, I would love to do the sum of something. So all I do is now put a square bracket in there, and then all our columns are pulled up inside here. So let's go our annual income. That's going to give me the sum of the annual income and pop it in there. So now I can refer to my table by using, if you have a look up here, this formatting where we put in the name of our table and then the range it's coming from. So this gives us the superpowers to be able to use this information anywhere inside our spreadsheet and to be able to combine information from tables as well. We can type two rows together, we can type columns together, and we can do all these things by just using this reference inside the tables. There's going to be some more things coming out in tables in the future, but I'm really excited about using this to save time and to be able to calculate my totals. Really cool. Now that's sitting inside Google Sheets.